I just finished watching Dark Side of the Ring, the Plane Ride from Hell episode, and it really sparked me to want to have a conversation with all of you about some of the revelations in that episode and tie it into WWE 2K22 only in that asking the question, should Ric Flair be in the game? Let's get into that episode right now. So I'll say right off the bat that I really enjoyed Dark Side of the Ring. I enjoy the entire series. If you haven't watched it before, go check it out because it's fascinating. They deep dive into some very dark themes and sad stories, and some of the time they can have some humorous elements in there. This episode of Dark Side of the Ring covering Ric Flair, specifically his behavior on the flight known as the Plane Ride from Hell. We're back in the early 2000s. All superstars are on this private charter jet and they get delayed. They were going over to UK and they were coming back, and it took them over 14 hours to get home, and there's drugs and there's booze and a lot of shenanigans going on that flight as well. What's interesting about this episode was that we have heard about these stories from the wrestlers themselves, and we've seen shoot interviews as well. People have documented it, but like even WWE themselves, this is the piece that I found very interesting. WWE had the cartoon series on the network called Storytime, and they did Storytime with Ric Flair, and it's fully cartoon animated, and they were talking about the Plane Ride from Hell. This episode has also been taken down by WWE and the Peacock network, so you can't get it online anymore once Dark Side actually came out. And in that cartoon episode, Ric Flair himself discusses him being on that flight, putting his robe on, being fully naked underneath, and doing a helicopter with his ding-a-ling. And even like in like the thumbnail for it, in the picture art, shows like the flight attendants like positively engaging with Ric Flair, like they're in on it. And the way Ric Flair tells the story of it, it's all done in a joking way. And in the Dark Side of the Ring episode, we get interviews with the flight attendant, one of the flight attendants on there, and it's terribly tragic, and it's not to be joked about, and it creates this narrative traditionally, like normally, with how like the wrestlers have gone about talking about this, how Ric Flair himself has talked about this situation, and it's almost like a boys will be boys, oh that's just how it is kind of deal. Dark Side of the Ring does an amazing job of encapsulating these story arcs, these issues, these focuses on superstars, and what's become fascinating now is the fallout of this episode and the impact it's having. Yes, these events are 20 years ago, but thankfully we have progressed, and these things are not like light at heart, and people feel like these things are not okay to do because they're not. So we've seen now that Ric Flair had this commercial spot he's supposed to do, and that has been pulled back, and it's not been released anymore. It's been canceled. WWE, like I said, has taken off the Storytime with Ric Flair, and the Plane Ride from Hell episode. That's been taken off of the network. Tommy Dreamer he had some choice words and choice narrative on this episode, which did not present him in a positive light, where he was essentially encouraged and just accepting of Ric Flair's behavior. And it's only one element. There's so much more going on in this episode. Like, I want to go and rewatch the whole thing because there's moments of RVD talking and mentioning certain things about, guys putting pills in their drinks and having their way with people. Like, there is so much going on outside of just what was happening with Ric Flair. From the time that Dark Side of the Ring aired, Ric Flair had already been released by WWE. Now, I think it's more of a coincidence than anything that the timing of those things, as Ric Flair was released earlier in the summer and this Dark Side episode has just aired. So I don't think the two of them are, correlated in any way. So I started thinking about other things in terms of like promotion and AEW and even WWE 2K22. And believe me, I totally understand that if the video game, being in a video game is non-news and it's not important, given the actual actions and what was happening on that flight 20 years ago. So I'm with you. But the reason why I bring it up is because we've seen, companies pulling away, not marketing towards it. Ric Flair. The question of AEW comes up a lot because Andrade broke things off with Chavo Guerrero in the storyline, and there's been a ton of speculation that Ric Flair is going to step in as his manager, as we saw the two of them come together at the AAA event. And because WWE 2K22 has the delays it has, and it given us more news coming around January, and it's going to be releasing sometime in March of 2022, I started to wonder if somebody like Ric Flair, with all of this recent information coming to light and creating a lot of noise on the internet and getting a lot of companies' attentions, a lot of people's attentions, that I wonder if 2K will pull Flair out of the game if he wasn't already taken out. Because when he was released by WWE early in the summer, there is a potential that Flair was already out of the game, that they removed him. We saw him in that pre-rendered trailer footage that the devs put out months and months ago now, and they used Flair in that alongside Booker T. And I wonder if Flair was still going to be in the game, would 2K make a move now to get him out of the game and make sure that he's not being represented? But like, what do you think? Do you think Flair should be out of the game? Do you think that, and I say out of the game as well as like not be around AEW, do you think AEW would take him on and bring him in the company still if that was supposedly the rumored plan, to have him go with Andrade as a manager? Do you think AEW would still push forward with him? I do wonder when this stuff kind of comes up too, because it's not just Flair. There are stories and allegations and issues surrounding other stars over the years, legends as well. Hulk Hogan always comes to mind as somebody that he has also had problems in the past. I think of Scott Hall, who's had well-documented issues with substance abuse and alcohol, and he has been in the game. He's in the last couple of games, so they don't take them away based off of all of that. So I don't know. I wanted to bring this up with all of you because I thought it's just kind of an interesting conversation piece of, with these very serious events happening many years ago, but even if they were recently, does this impact game companies and their decisions at all of who to include in terms of a roster? And would they even consider it? Because I don't know, on one hand, it probably is bad publicity and it's bad PR if you have someone like Flair in that game or being showcased at all in light of all of this going on. I don't think that that's something you want to be associated with. But maybe they look at it and say, well, it's a video game. We've got these assets. We've got these stars that are confirmed, the contracts with them and so on. Maybe they still just keep going with it and it is what it is. But let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Dark Side of the Ring this week? Again, I found it very fascinating. I enjoyed the episode because it gave the flight attendants perspective, and that human element, that human perspective is something that we haven't had and we haven't heard about or read about until this actually aired. We've always seen it from the perspective of the wrestlers and their antics and shenanigans and everything that went on the flight, but we've never heard it from the other side. And I think that was very important. And I think the whole episode was very well done. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. In the comments below, let me know what you think of the episode. Let me know if you think the Ric Flair would be in 2K22 or AEW for that matter. And if you would be an AEW video game if they went down that path as well. But let me know. Let's have a conversation about it. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya.